Shaoxing is a prefecture-level city on the southern shore of Hangzhou Bay in northeastern Zhejiang province, China. It was formerly known as Kuaiji and Shanyin and abbreviated in Chinese as e-paragraph from the area's former inhabitants. Located on the south bank of the Qiantang River estuary, it borders Ningbo to the east, Taizhou to the southeast, Jinhua to the southwest, and Hangzhou to the west. The city itself is lined with numerous canals and waterways, giving it a classic Jiangnan-style scenery though more mountainous than is typical for Jiangnan. At the 2010 census, its population was 4,912,339 inhabitants whom 1,914,683 lived in the built-up area of Hangzhou-Shaoxing, with 8,156,154 inhabitants. Shaoxing has long been a hotbed of Chinese cultural activity, producing such luminary figures as Wang Xizhi, Zhou Enlai, Lu Xun, and Cai Yuanpei. It is widely known throughout China for Shaoxing wine, meigan Cai, and stinky tofu, and was recently featured on A Bite of China. Its local variety of Chinese opera sung in the local dialect and known as Yule Shaoxing opera is second in popularity only to Peking opera. In 2010, Shaoxing celebrated the 2500th anniversary of the founding of the city. Economically, the city is driven by manufacturing of textiles, electronics, and energy-efficient lighting. Zhejiang has the fifth highest per capita GDP in the nation, with the city itself at 32nd nationally by GDP per capita. Etymology: the city was first named Shaoxing in 1131 during the Southern Song dynasty. The name comes from the Shaoxing reign period of Emperor Gaozong of Song, and is a poetic term meaning inheriting the imperial task and resurging to prosperity. History: modern-day Shaoxing lies north of the Kuaiji Mountains, which were an important center of the semi-nomadic people of Yu during ancient China's spring and autumn period. Chinese legend connected them with events in the life of Yu the Great, the founder of the Xia. Around the early 5th century BC, the time of Yu's famous king Gaozhen, his people began establishing permanent centers in the alluvial plain north of the hills. Following his freedom from captivity in Wu, Gaozhen commissioned his advisor Fan Li to erect a major triangular fortification in the area of present-day Shaoxing's Yucheng district. Following Yu's conquest of Wu, though, its royal court was removed to its former rival's capital until its own conquest by Chu in 334 BC. Following the area's conquest in 222 BC, the Qian Empire's Kuaiji commandery was also established in Wu, but the first emperor visited the town in the last year of his reign, ascending Mount Kuaiji and sacrificing to the spirit of Yu. The commemorative stele he erected is now lost but was visited by Sima Qian during his 1st century BC pilgrimage of China's historical sites and was preserved in his records of the Grand Historian. By the time of the later Han, the lands between the Yangtze and Hangzhou Bay received their own commanderies and administration of Kuaiji then stretching along the south shore of the bay from Qiantang to the East China Sea. The area's capital and present-day Yucheng was then known as Kuaiji until the 12th century, when it was renamed Shaoxing. The present site of Yu's mausoleum dates to the 6th century Southern Dynasty's period. Under the Ming and Qing dynasties, the area was organized as a prefecture containing the following 8 counties: urban Kuaiji and Shanyin and rural Yuao, Suzhai, Xiaoshan, Shanyu, Xinchang, and Cheng. From the later Ming through the Qing, Shaoxing was famous for its network of native sons throughout the Chinese government bureaucracy, cooperating out of native place loyalty. In addition to the substantial number of Shaoxing natives who succeeded in becoming officials via the regular civil service examination route, this vertical Shaoxing clique also included county-level jail wardens, plus unofficial legal specialists working privately for officials at the county, prefectural, and provincial levels, plus clerks working in Beijing's 6 boards, especially the boards of revenue and punishment. The legal experts were also known as Shaoxing Shai, and they were indispensable advisors to the local and regional officials who employed them, since their knowledge of the detailed Qing legal code permitted the officials, whose education was in the Confucian classics, to competently perform one of their major functions, that of judging local civil and criminal cases. Coming from the same gentry social class as the officials, the legal experts were expected to adhere to the ethical dictum enunciated by Wang Xizhi, Shaoxing's most famous mule: if not in accord with your employer, then leave. Under the Republic of China during the early 20th century, the prefecture was abolished and the name Shaoxing was applied to a new county comprising the former Shanyin and Kuaiji. Under the People's Republic of China, Shaoxing is a municipality with a somewhat smaller land area than its Ming-Qing namesake prefecture, having lost Xiaoshan County to Hangzhou on the west and Yuao County to Ningbo on the east. Administration: the prefecture-level city of Shaoxing administers 3 districts, 2 county-level cities and 1 county. Geography and climate: average temperature, 16 degrees Celsius. Major sites: there are a number of historical places connected with the writer Lu Xun, Lu Xun's residence near the center of the city. Qiantang Hotel, founded in 1894, mentioned in works by the novelist. In front of the gate is a statue of Kuaiji, a character in one of his stories. Sanwu School, built around 1890, at the end of the Qing dynasty. It was used by the Zhou clan. The writer was born there and grew up in the house, where he studied both Western economics and literature as well as Chinese subjects. After he returned to China, he turned it into a primary school, believing that education could inspire national regeneration. He introduced advanced ideas and technical knowledge to provide opportunities for children in Shaoxing. Beikow Garden. Other sites include Tomb of Yu the Great, legendary founder of the Xia dynasty. East Lake, scenic area just outside the city. Orchid Pavilion, commemorating the calligrapher Wang Xizhi and his famous work Preface to the Poems composed at the Orchid Pavilion, written in Shaoxing in 353 AD. Shen Garden, in Yan'an Road, associated with the poet Lu Yu and his love for his first wife Tang Wan. The garden dates back to the Southern Song dynasty. Green Vine Study, former home of the Ming period painter Zhu Wei. Qujin's House, Ming period. Zhou Enlai's ancestral home, Qing period. Special events: Shaoxing was the location of the official World Choir Games in 2010. It will host the World Korfball Championship in late October 2011. Shaoxing Wine. Chinese rice wine is also known as Shaoxing wine or simply Shaw wine. The brewery utilizes a natural process using the pure water of the Jinhua Mirror Lake. It has a unique flavor and a reputation both nationally and internationally. It is used both as a liquor and in cooking as well as a solvent for Chinese herbal medicated ointments. The China Shaoxing Yellow Wine Group Corporation produces 110,000 tons annually for domestic and overseas markets. 1. Tofu folk customs. Due to its long history, Shaoxing has accumulated and handed down a characteristic culture known as Yu culture. As an important part of Yu culture and a traditional folk custom of Shaoxing, tofu still has great influence on Shaoxing people and their lives. History and background. Tofu is also called Zafu and is the most prominent annual sacrificial ceremony in Shaoxing. The gods worshipped in Ancestor and Hongshan Zenon. They have been worshipped since the Yuan dynasty. Legend holds that when the government of the Song dynasty was overthrown by the Mongolian army and replaced by the Yuan dynasty, the original Song citizens, namely the Han people, were extremely afraid of the newly established minority political power. They secretly offered sacrifices at midnight to the emperors of South Song dynasty and those patriotic martyrs who died to save the nation. Nanchai refers to a group of martyrs, who died in the war of resistance against the Mongolian invasion, including Emperor Huizong of Song, last emperor of the Southern Song dynasty, Wen Tianxiang, scholar-general of Southern Song dynasty, who was captured but did not unregistered trademark tea given to the enemy and later was killed by the Yuan government, and Lu Xufu, the Southern Song prime minister who committed suicide, together with Emperor Huizong and 800 other officials and members of the imperial court. Hongshan Zenon refers to 2 anonymous brothers who sacrificed their lives to save civilians from being killed by the Mongolian army. In memory of the brothers, The local people named the place where they were killed after them and offered sacrifice to a portrait or statue of the brothers. Records show that the Mongolian nobility, the ruling class of the Yuan dynasty, treated the Han people harshly, such that the Han people created and cleverly disguised their gods Nanchhe Shenzhong and Hongshan Zenon in order to mourn for the lost nation and its patriotic martyrs whilst praying for their blessing. The ruling class knew only of the ostensible purpose of the annual sacrificial ceremony, believing it was the means to entertain the god of blessing and pray for a good harvest the next year as well as harmony. The ceremony was handed down from generation to generation and finally became a convention whilst its political meaning gradually dimmed. It became a pure sacrificial ceremony, held annually to offer thanks to the god of blessing for all his blessings and to pray for the next year's blessing. Dates Tofu is often held during the period between December 24 and December 28 according to the Chinese lunar calendar. Shaoxing people first choose an auspicious day according to the Chinese lunar calendar to hold the ceremony. In Shaoxing, the days between December 20 and December 30 of the Chinese lunar calendar are called nights instead of days so as to remind homemakers that the Spring Festival is approaching and they should hurry up to prepare for Tofu and the Spring Festival. Ceremonial right Thereafter, the officiant of the ceremony, who is usually the man of a house, lights incense and red candles, hangs golden and silver taiding made of paper on the left and right candle holders, puts cushions for kneeling on the ground in order, and inserts a mazhang stick, which represents Nanchhe Shenzhong or Hongshan Zenon into the prepared holder. Females are not allowed to be present whilst the sacrifice is underway. After tasks are completed, the male members of the family successively kneel down facing the main door and kowtow to the god. At that moment there are many taboos. For example, the wine should not be poured from a cup, and chopsticks should not fall into the ground. Silence is also maintained to avoid taboos. When all is prepared, the officiant pours wine for those present. They hold their wine cups high as quickly as possible to see the god out. Then the officiant burns the mazhang stick together with golden and silver taiding in the courtyard. He cuts the tongues from the chicken and goose, then throws them onto the roof of the house at the same time and praying to the god to take away the tongues which symbolize possible calamities emanating from the spoken word. Finally, the officiant put a cup of wine with tea onto the ashes of mazhang sticks signifying the end of Tofu. Ancestor worship follows the ceremony and, although similar to Tofu, differences do exist. After worship, the family sits down at tables and eat fulai together, which they call sanfu or sharing the blessings. As a featured folk custom, Tofu has been handed down and well protected as part of Shaoxing's cultural heritage. It is reputable because of his special origin. It was widely popularized by Lu Xun in his short story Tofu Cnc, which he named after the sacrificial ceremony. Whilst deeply moved by the ill-fated leading character of the novel, readers get to learn the details of the Tofu tradition. Notable people: Zhixi 506 BCA one of the four beauties of ancient China, who lived in Zhejiang County, Shaoxing. Wang Xizhi, 303 361, calligrapher, lived in Shaoxing. Lu Yu, 1125 1210, poet and literati of the Southern Song period, who famously encountered his former wife in Shen Garden. Zhu Wei 1521–1593, Ming Dynasty painter, born in Shaoxing. Wang Shouren 1472–1529, Ming Dynasty politician and scholar. Zhang Dai, 1597–1689, essayist and historian of the later Ming period, born in Shaoxing. Cai Yuanpei 1868–1940, educator and thinker, born in Shaoxing. Qu Jin 1875–1907, female revolutionary, raised in Shaoxing. Lu Xun 1881–1936, writer, leading figure of modern Chinese literature, born in Shaoxing. Ma Yinchu 1882–1982, educator and economist, born in Shenzhou, Shaoxing. Chen Yi 1883–1950, Kuomintang soldier and politician, born in Dongpusan, Shaoxing. Zhou Enlai 1885–1967, essayist and translator, brother of Lu Xun, born in Shaoxing. Zhou Enlai 1898–1976, first Premier of the People's Republic of China, Wang Tinlam 1927–2010, Hong Kong screenwriter, producer, director, and actor, father of Wang Jing. Zhou Quan 1987, a Euro, film director and producer. Tong Jingquan 1954, real estate billionaire. See also, Jiangnan. References. External links, government website of Shaoxing, official travel and tourism website for Shaoxing, Shaoxing Air Quality Index reports.